Hooty hoo, all my stock market gamblers. Welcome today. It's Thursday. What do we got going on in the markets today? Well, the markets are kind of flat today. The S&P and the Nasdaq's flat. The Dow's down about 100. A little bit of volatility today after the big Fed sell-off yesterday. Now, I want to talk a little bit about what the Fed did that caused this sell-off. First of all, we had this big sell-off, right? Okay. And it's kind of the January effect. For January, we're already down. And how January goes, usually the rest of the year goes. So it's interesting to see if the January effect plays out. But this was predictable. We had that short squeeze up into the end of the year. And that was on very light volume when everyone was on vacation. And now the big boys come back and they see prices up here and they go, thank you, thank you, thank you. And they start short selling the market and the market starts to come down. Now, I had some S&P puts on and they did really well and I took those off. Now, why did I take those off? Well, I took them off because of the VIX. Yesterday when we had the big drop down, now this is a trading tip, when we had that big pullback in the S&P, the VIX shot up, right? The VIX shot up about 13%. Anytime the VIX moves more than 10% in one day, it'll usually have a little correction the other way. In other words, the VIX shot up, but it's probably going to pull back, which means yesterday the S&P dropped, but now the S&P is probably going to rally a little bit here. Now, really, we haven't done anything. We've kind of just been moving sideways in the S&P and in the Nasdaq. We've been in a trading range, and it's kind of sideways. It's not really up or down. But we did have a false breakout in the S&P 500, and that was the short squeeze right before the end of the year, the Santa Claus rally, if you will. Kind of had that little short squeeze, and it was a false breakout. And now we're trading back down, giving away most of all that short squeeze already. On the Nasdaq, we've already wiped out that whole short squeeze, but we're down back towards the lower end, but we're still moving sideways. And the question still remains, will we break out to the top or will we break down? Now, if we can't break out to the top, of course we're going to break down. And I think we're going to get some follow through on this downward momentum that the Fed's causing. Now, what did the Fed really do that caused it? I mean, the Dow was up yesterday, and then the Fed had their little minutes come out, and the market just dropped like a rock. The Nasdaq went down over 500 points yesterday. Okay, so what'd they do? Well, they said that they're ready to fight inflation. Ready to fight inflation. Okay, well, let's kind of think of it this way. Inflation is this raging fire, right? It's out of control. You know it's out of control. I know it's out of control. But here comes the Federal Reserve with the little squirt gun saying we're going to fight inflation. They're not going to do it. Look, inflation is already, according to the government, it's already 6 or 7%, right? But yet the Fed is still doing quantitative easing. That just doesn't make sense. That's still pouring gasoline on the fire. Now they go, well, we're going to be done with quantitative easing by March. Well, what about between now and March? I mean, we got this burning fire. It's out of control. Inflation, in my opinion, is really running about 15% if you measure it the way they did back in the 80s. And I mean, that's go to shadow stats. You can tell it's 15%. Now, okay, so that's all fine and dandy, but they say they're going to come out and they're going to fight inflation. Now, we're going to fight inflation. Let's just say they do finish off the tapering. The tapering means that they're buying these bonds and they're buying mortgage-backed securities, and they're going to finish that off. They're going to stop buying them. They're going to stop rigging the market. Well, are they going to raise interest rates? Maybe. They say they're going to raise them. Look, if inflation is at, let's just use a number of 7% and go with what the government says. If inflation is at 7% and we got interest rates pegged right around zero, I mean, a quarter point here, a quarter point here, that's just not going to do it. Now, But you'll notice that interest rates are already creeping up on the 10-year bond. They were at about 150, and now they're at about 1.7. 1.7. Okay, now 1.7 would normally not be a problem at all. And if they went to 2%, it wouldn't be a problem normally. But we have so much debt that the debt, it's got to be paid off somehow. And we can't afford the debt at 1.5%. How are we going to afford it at 2%? But what really has to happen is you have to get the rate above inflation. Above inflation, that's what you have to do. Now, the Federal Reserve, they say that they're going to start, they're going to finish the taper, but what they say they're going to do is they're going to start to sell off their $9 trillion balance sheet. Now, they own $9 trillion of bonds and mortgage-backed securities and corporate debt. $9 trillion. They're going to start to sell this off. Well, when you think about it, who are they going to sell it to? Who in their right mind would be buyers? $9 trillion? Never, ever going to happen. Now, they can threaten all they want, and that's all they got is threats. They cannot sell off their balance sheet. There's no buyers. They're the only buyer. They're the buyer of last resort. So the balance sheet is not going to get sold off. Now, is interest rates going to get raised? Oh, they might raise a quarter point. They might raise a second quarter point. But by the time that happens, you're going to see the stock market just free falling. You're going to see real estate collapsing, and they're going to just back away, and they're going to start QE like you never seen before. Matter of fact, the government right now, they're in talks for a new stimulus check to be sent out. You can't make this stuff up. I mean, we got inflation running wild, but yet the government wants to send out more free money. Well, what is that going to do to inflation? It's going to increase it. Now, for the life of me, I can't understand why the far left, they want to print this free money and give it out to people for free. They don't understand who that hurts. That hurts poor people. You see, they think they're helping poor people. Oh, we have such a compassionate heart. We want to send everybody another check for $1,200 so that the poor people can eat. Yeah, they can eat for 1 month, but then food prices jump up again and they don't get another $1,200 check, but they still have the food prices stay up. They don't come back down. Food prices worldwide went up 30% last year. This is destroying poor people. They don't have money to pay for it. Okay, so it hurts the poor people. Who gets rich? Who gets rich when they send out this money? Who gets rich? It's people like Warren Buffett. Look at Apple Computer. Let's just talk a moment about Apple Computer. Apple Computer temporarily, right? It's having a little pullback now, but it hit a $3 trillion market valuation. Now, why is that? Well, people, they go out and they buy these iPhones with their stimulus check, right? Okay, well, $3 trillion market cap. Now, Warren Buffett, he owns 5%. He has a 5% stake in Apple. Now, what did he pay for that 5% stake? He paid $36 billion. $36 billion. Okay. Now that is now inflated to $150 billion. He made basically $120 billion just by putting in $36 billion and then having the government send out all this free money so that people could go out and buy the newest, latest iPhone and get the market cap up to $3 trillion. I mean, this is just crazy. That's who gets rich. The rich, the wealthy, the billionaires are just getting super rich. The divide between the rich and the poor has never been greater, not even in the Great Depression. And believe me, we are going into another depression. And it's scary times. It's scary times. And the government, they're painted into a corner. The Federal Reserve, they're painted into a corner. They can't fight inflation. They got their little squirt gun trying to put the little fire out. No, their squirt gun ain't going to do anything. I'm telling you. What has to be done, they don't have the guts to do it. They can't do it because the whole thing will come collapsing down. And I think we do have to collapse down so that we can rebuild again. I mean, you got to tear this monster down. It's broken. The system's broken. Look, we have no price discovery. No one knows what a house is supposed to sell for anymore. Houses are way up here and they should not be. But if the Federal Reserve, they keep buying the mortgages, they keep interest rates at zero, of course houses are way up there. And I do believe that the houses are going to come crashing down. That'll probably be my next video video, I'll talk more about that. But I mean, maybe they can keep them up. Maybe they can just say everybody that buys a house will give you $100,000 check. And in this marketplace, I mean, it's not as weird as you think. The government has lost their mind. I mean, the Federal Reserve is painted into a corner. There's nothing they can do. Their hands are tied. They really don't have options at this point. We'll see what they pull out of the hat, but they keep talking about these tools that they're going to fight inflation with. They're not going to fight inflation. They're not even probably going to finish the end of the taper. I don't think they're going to finish it, and I don't think they're going to raise interest rates more than a quarter point, maybe a half a point total before the whole house of cards comes crashing down on them. Look, there's problems in the United States. And don't get me wrong, it's a worldwide problem. I mean, the global debt is astronomical. It's off the charts. It's never been greater. And we are going to pay the price for this. We're going to pay a huge price. And it is scary what's going to happen. It's very scary. But anyways, I went on a little rant today. I hope I didn't scare anybody too much. If you like this stuff, give me the thumbs up. You really like it, hit the subscribe button and we can talk more again. I'm Tall Mike. Get out there. Have a great Thursday, everybody. Bye-bye now.